Good evening, I'm Victoria Beale and I'm your host tonight on a very, very warm Saturday evening. So welcome to NTV Unscripted. We do these shows twice a month. You're very, very welcome to join us today. And today we've got a very, very special guest. He is a philanthropist. He gives back to charities in an immense way. He's a counsellor and he's also a BEM, which is British Empire Medal. So please welcome Councillor Imran Chowdhury. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, and I'm really delighted and honored to be your guest in your show. This is something very inspiring. Thank you
Well, thank you for
having
coming,
me in your show.
Coming all the way down from Northamptonshire today to see us. We're very delighted to have you. So, you have such a fantastic story. I don't think an hour will do us justice, but we will try.
Let's
so, Imran, tell us about, to start with, where were you born, and tell us about your life as a young child.
Thank you. I was born in Bangladesh. I was raised in Bangladesh. We had a fantastic life, actually. I mean, very insular, taken care of. Both my parents were working in the government service, and we brothers and sisters were having the best time of our life. And sisters were studying in boarding schools, my brothers were studying in boarding schools. So, I mean, there was not shortage of anything, put it this way. But then what happened in 1971, on the 25th of March, the liberation war of Bangladesh started, following a massive crackdown by the Pakistan army in the capital city of Dhaka.
Wow.
And yeah, the whole thing just snowballed and ruined everything that we had. So we were living in a small town which is about 60 kilometers away from the capital city, which the name of the place is called Brahmanbaria, and we were living there. Myself, my elder sister, immediate elder sister, she was 15 years old, I was 10 years old, and I had two brothers, one was 8, one was 6, and my mom. So the crackdown happened on the 25th, and the Bangladeshi armed forces, Bangladesh East Pakistan Rifles, used to be that time East Pakistan, and the freedom fighters started to actually repulse the crackdown, and we declared independence.
Right.
So before that, we had an election in 1970 when the political party, which is led by the father of the nation, won a landslide victory. Landslide, I mean, out of I think all the seats but 2 won by the leader of the father of the nation's political party. So there were only 2 people who were in the opposition. Just imagine the magnitude of the voting. But the Pakistanis wouldn't give us the power sharing government. They didn't let us form the government. Instead, what they did was to actually carry out a very, very similar final solution that you have seen in Europe in the Second World War, what happened in the Nazi Germany. So they just tried to copy and replicate the same kind of operation to annihilate and perhaps obliterate the Bengali race from the face of the earth. So the repulsion, the redemption, and the revolution just started. And from the 25th of March till the 17th of April, we lived in the town. On the 17th of April, there was a massive bombardment, aerial bombardment by 4 Sabajets aircrafts, fighter aircrafts, and it pounded the city for about 45 minutes and fires, the flames, and that was the city which had the first Bangladeshi natural gas installation. I mean, that's where we found the first natural gas. So the fire was like nobody's business. It was just rocketing in the air, and the whole town started panicking.
Of course.
And the rumor was the Pakistan army is going to envelop the town from the south and the north through the railway lines. And the rumor is, if you want to live and survive, get away. Just imagine the panic. And we just left our home, whatever we are wearing, nothing, no clothing, no shoes, nothing. And I mean, after 45 minutes of bombardment, as it is, we are suffering from hypothermia, panic and all of that. And on top of it, you have to leave your home.
Yes.
So then we left home, and that is the biggest exodus of my life.
I bet.
So we actually didn't have any place to live. We were living in shelters of people's houses from one village to the other, one village to the other. We did it for about 13 days. And then finally, on the 30th of April, we decided to take a tumultuous journey, a perilous walk of about 20 to 25 miles. I can't tell you exactly how many miles, to reach to the shores of Indian borders and seek refuge there.
And how old were you at this time?
I was, I was 10 years, 10 months old, yeah. Wow. Okay. 10 years, 11 months old. So it was me, my sister, my mother, 2 younger brothers. And the journey, why I call it the perilous journey, is because if you know about Bengal, you were to know we have a very notorious monsoon and the northwesters, what happens in the month of April, in the is the first month of the Bengali New Year. And whilst we were walking, all through it has been hailstorm, it's been tornado, and it's been raining cats and dogs. And the rains were like hitting my face, as if a needle is pricking my face every time it was coming. And we couldn't dare to stop, because there was a road, the main motorway kind of a road, which goes astride those lands that we were crossing to go to India. And this was one of the obstacles, and the next was the railway line. So first road, the Pakistan Army was actually patrolling the road to and fro every 10 minutes. So you have that window of 10 minutes that you just cross over. Right. And if you are caught, then many people have lost their lives just trying to cross that road. And we crossed that road. It was raining, and we poured into, in the evening, I don't know how we made it. I have no knowledge, because after about 4 o'clock, I almost lost my sense. I was not in my sense. I was dragging along with the rest of them, but what I was doing, I can't recollect. So finally, we went right on the border, and we stayed a night in a derelict school. There was no bedding, nothing, no windows, no doors. It's just on the border of East Pakistan and India. It was night, and we slept on the floor.
Just on the floor.
5 of us. And the next morning we poured into India. I must say I owe a great deal of gratitude for the people of India, because they were so magnanimous, and they gave us shelter. They embraced us with their open arm, gave us food, gave us clothing, something to eat, and quilt and beddings. Just imagine people from the villages, they don't have enough resources to give us all of that, but they were so kind. And then subsequently we went into a refugee camp in the state of Tripura, which is the northwest states of India. A place, there was a refugee camp made for all the it was called a special camp, because all the executives, the government officials, the member of parliaments, and various other dignitaries who went into India and sought refuge there. So India built a camp for those people, and we were housed there. And I lived in that refugee camp for 9 months, till the day Bangladesh was independent. We came back to East Pakistan, which is now Bangladesh, next day. But that journey for 9 months, not having enough food, not having enough clothing, not having beddings to lie in and sleep. We were literally on the muddy floors.
Yes.
And 1 month ago we had everything.
Yes.
And that falling from this grace,
yes,
and to actually acclimatize yourself in that state of life was very difficult for all of us, and especially for me, to actually contemplate and get on with it. So my job as the head of the family, because by then we came to know my father has revolted from Sylhet region, where all the Bangladeshi people in the United Kingdom come from. So my father revolted with his company of troops. He was one of the first one to revolt in Sylhet. It's documented in all the history books about the Liberation War. Very elaborately explains his heroism, actually, his heroic activities during the war. So my father then went into India, and we were like 140 miles away, but we had no means to meet up with him.
No.
And then my elder brother came in, found us in the refugee camp. He stayed with us for about 5-6 days, and he moved. He was only 17-year-old, and he joined the freedom fight as a freedom fighter. And my job was to stand in the queue to get the ration from the refugee camp.
You became the head of the household.
I was the head of the house.
How old are you at this point?
I was 11 years old.
You were 11
and
then.
it continued for 9 months. I had to go and get the ration. I had to go in the jungle, just in the real forest, to go and cut branches of trees and leaves to bring some firewood for my mom and my sister to cook at home. And then the camp was in a kind of a plateau, it's a higher raised ground in the hills. So the water points were about 1,000 feet down at the bottom of the hill. So I had to go with buckets to bring water for my mom and my sister and for cooking and other things. That was another perilous journey. It was so hard. And if you know our part of the world, it rains, and when it rains constantly for 3, 4, 5 days continuously. So in that rainy, slippery, uphill climbing with a bucket full of water for an 11-year-old was not the most easiest job.
Not.
But then whilst I was there, we did a lot of activities. We formed a cultural group there with the help of the elder brothers who were living in the refugee camp. We formed a cultural group, and we used to go out to various freedom fighters camps around our area to go and entertain them with the drama, with singing.
But I'm telling you, you are telling me, I'm getting engrossed in this story, but we are going to go to a commercial break very shortly. But when we get back, we'll find out more about how this has impacted on Imran's life.
Thank you.
Join us after the break. Here today with Councillor Imran Chowdhury, BEM. Now, in the first half of this interview, we were listening all about the Liberation War and how that really kind of changed your life and put you on a different path. Just round off with you were telling us about the tremendous help you received in India.
Yes. Well, just to finish it off, to say the sufferings and the plight of life, I mean, it did not stop us. It did not really dent our determination to have that country as an independent Bangladesh. I mean, I was an 11-year-old. I was going around and distributing Joy Bangla, means is a free newspaper we published, the government of Bangladesh in exile published in India, and I was distributing. The present law minister of the country, Bangladesh, him and his younger brother, we were distributing that newspapers to the various refugee camps and to the Indian population, just to raise their consensus to help us for a few more days. We are going to go and will not be dependent on you. And then last 1 month, November and December 16, we were actually taken to a hospital in Agartala. There's a GB hospital. There was a ward, Joy Bangla ward, where all the Bengali freedom fighters injured were treated. So we used to go there every day to help the nurses, run errands for them, take the medicines, help the patients, because there was only 70 or 80 beds, but there were more than 300 patients lying on the veranda, lying on the floors, the cupboard rooms, the medicine rooms. So all we were doing, because we were the nearest camp refugee camp from that hospital. So we used to go and help the nurses, help the doctors, help the porters, and talk to the freedom fighters, entice them, encourage them, read the newspapers to them. And that is the contribution I have made. Amazing. And I'm so proud that at the age of 11, this opportunity God gave me to help liberate my country, where I played a very, very minuscule role, but it makes me immensely proud. But having said that, whilst we stayed in the camp, and the help that we have received from people, from organizations like Oxfam, oh my God, I can talk about Oxfam all day and night. They were like the God-sent messiahs, I mean, they're so passionate, and we became, in a refugee camp, you are not having proper meal, you are not sleeping well, you are always in tenterhooks, and you are, cantankerous, always quarreling, not abiding by the instructions and regulations. It's like a mob. But we could never dent the passion and the camaraderie and the helping attitude of the Red Cross and on the Oxfam. And also, whilst we were there at the time, in the UK we had a conservative government. In Bengali we call them Rakhonshil Dol. So all we are hearing is in the radio, in the newspapers, that so and so conservative member of parliament is coming to visit our camp next week, and then a lot of ministers, a lot of other people came from all over the world. But because we are part of the British Empire, so anything to do with London is like a mythical city for us. Do you understand? It's aspiration.
Hollywood.
It's a dream for every citizens of all those countries outside the UK, basically. So then, what actually that did is that perhaps gave me a lot of sense of understanding that in life, whatever you do, you owe it to the society. You have a responsibility to pay it back to your society. And since then, I came out, I did my education, I had a stint in the army because I had to please my dad. He wanted me to join the army. So I joined the army. After I packed up the army, I did some studies, but always tried to reach out to people and help, And I helped people all over. I mean, my elder brother didn't make it. He was killed in the war.
Oh, sorry.
And in 1972, after the war, my father built a school in his name in our village. And from the age of 12 till I was 16, 17, I had a book for collecting donations from my brother's school.
Right.
And used to go around to shops and talk to known people, businessmen, contractors, as would you mind give some money to my brother's school. And this is how we raised that money and built that school. Today, it really makes me immensely proud. That school is one of the most famous schools in the area, and it embodies my brother's name.
Good.
So the precipitation of all this anger, all this agony, and all these sufferings have given a fruition, which epitomizes my disastrous past, and gives me a sense of understanding that in life, no matter what comes your way, if you steer it right, you can achieve, and you can give it back to the society who are worse off than you. So I'm very privileged, I'm privileged that God has been kind to me, and I'm well off. In other words, in terms of I don't have any disability, I'm educated, whatever education you call it, I'm hardworking, I'm honest. So I can make myself formidable, I can make myself, I can sustain any calamities, but there are other people who can't.
Correct.
So I reach out to them and I give it back to them whichever way I can. So that's what has been my passion of life.
It's
and
amazing.
I'm immensely proud that I can do that.
It sounds like God chose you. Don't you believe that?
I do. Sometimes I pinch myself and just wake up and say, are you that Imran in a refugee camp? I mean, I was I lost half my body weight.
Yeah.
Half my body
Wow.
weight. I had all sorts of diseases. I had eczema because the rough sleep and all of that.
Malnutrition.
Yeah, it's malnutrition. And from there to come here, all this journey, after about 50 years, sitting with you and talking to you, it has been a journey and a half. Trust me, it has been.
And there's a lot more because you're an accomplished writer as well. Tell us about that part of your life.
Well, writing, actually, I inherited it from my mother. My mother was a graduate in 1950s, and she served in the customs and excise. She was a assistant headmistress of a school, and once after the liberation, when, if you know about Bangladesh Liberation War, it's very sad history that in excess of 400 to 800,000 women were sexually compromised and used as a weapon of war by the Pakistan army.
Wow.
So after the liberation, the government and some philanthropists set up women's rehabilitation centers and under the Ministry of Women's Affairs. So my mother was one of the countrywide directors of women's rehabilitation program.
Right.
So she used to write for newspapers, and I think I have inherited that.
I'd say yes.
And I always spoke very well. Even in my school, I was a good debate team member, extempore and other public speakings. So from there, actually, I thought, instead of only talking, let me contextualize those things in a piece of paper. And I write about Bangladesh, I write about the history of the Liberation War. I have written books as a memoir of a refugee, what I saw during the 1971 war, and then I do a lot of travel blogs as well. So yeah, this gives me enough. So I think I'm more passionate about writing than anything else.
Yes, I'd say so. Maybe we've got a film in the offing one day. Who knows?
Yes, you never know.
So, I mean, that's lovely. So your book's been how many books have you had published?
I've got 3 books published. Unluckily, these are all published during the pandemic. So
Right.
I'm having them second run.
Okay.
So they should be coming in maybe before February 21st. Yeah.
Right.
I've got 3 more books coming, and also the memoir of a refugee. I'm doing it in English, and because I don't have got time constraints, somebody is translating it for me.
Great.
So hopefully I'm going to see them in November, and hopefully once I give them a go ahead, it'll be published in February. So
Can't wait.
three of them together. Yeah, it'll be
And will
good.
people be able to buy this in the bookshop?
Yeah, you'll
Amazon?
be buying this book. I'm not really looking at as a commercial venture.
No, of course.
I would give away as much as I can for people of the generations to actually know how costly and how precarious the journey was for my generation, my father and my mother's generation in 1971, to offer them with an independent country, a home for the Bengali people in the world.
Yes.
So they ought to know, and they need to know where they come from in order for them to do something in their life and to take inspiration from the sacrifices of their ancestors.
That's right.
And that will make them very proud. So I would rather not make it commercial. If
No.
there is any sales proceeds, welcome. But I'll give away to the libraries, because the English version will go almost to all libraries, and I will do book launch in House of Commons or House of Lords,
Amazing.
and I will try and promote it. Yes.
Good for you.
Thank you.
You're such a wonderful person. I just have to say that first
Thank
of all.
you. I'm honored.
So, with regard to the British Empire Medal, so you don't just get handed that for no reason. Tell us all about that story, how that happened.
British Empire Medal. This was perhaps the most joyous morning of my life. I never thought about this in my wildest of dreams, trust me. On the 4th of December 2020, I was sitting in my study in the morning, just switched on my computer, then phone rang, and it's a private number. Normally, when you receive a phone in a private number, you don't
No.
reply because you don't know what kind of call is it. So I picked up the phone, I don't know, I said, "Hi there, may I help you?" So from the other side there was this lady, and she said, "The Prime Minister would like to recommend you to Her Majesty the Queen for a BEM. I did not even know what BEM is, because we only know about MBE.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I said, what is this? He said, well, it's BEM. And then she explained that we are reintroducing it. It was there, and we stopped in 1992, and again reintroducing it back. So would you accept it? How can I say no? But I was wondering how. How did they come to know about me? So anyway, then I got my citations, and yes, I must say that, just imagine a refugee boy of 1971.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Lived in Bangladesh half of his life. Right?
Yeah.
Come from a family which was absolutely obliterated.
Yes.
In the Liberation War. Lived a very precarious life, grappled with so many dichotomies,
Yes.
you know, and from there to come here and to receive this magnitude of an honor, none other than the Her Majesty the Queen. So you can imagine how joyous, how jubilant, how exuberantly happy I was.
Exactly. I mean, I bet you pinch yourself. That's just telling me now you feel like a different person.
Yes.
It's someone else's life.
I never thought that I will ever get this ever in my life, in my wildest of dreams. And the beauty of it is, actually, when I received the citation, the newspapers, Northampton's, all the newspapers, the BBC and all, took my interview, and I read the citation. So I was quite surprised, actually. Surprised in the sense that normally the quintessential way of receiving these honors, and mine was a little bit different, a bit niche. Niche in the sense that I got it for my writings.
Okay.
I got it for my public speakings that I do with the youth of the Bangladeshi diaspora community. Various community centers I go and talk about Bangladesh and the history of the colonial past.
And here we have the pictures on the screen now for everyone at home.
Right. And then the writings in the newspapers that I do.
Yes.
The television chat shows that I'm invited to go as a guest.
Yes.
To talk about history of Bangladesh, talk about politics, geopolitics, and all of that. So it's a combination of all of this for which I have been bestowed with this award. So yes, it has been a huge privilege and honor for me. I have no words to thanks those who has taken the pain to recommend me.
And I'll tell you what, we've got a minute and a half to go before the next break. Would you believe? Time is flying past.
Time flies.
So tell us about the doors that this has opened for you. How, just by having that honour, how's that helped spread the message?
Yeah, I mean, look, I do a lot of community work.
Yes.
I have a CIC, Center for Policy Promotion and Prevention. Under that banner, we do a lot of community work. We have done enormous amount of voluntary work during the COVID-19.
Yes.
I mean, the name I put in the name of the conceptualization of the CIC, I put the prevention. And the prevention came into being and came into fruition when the COVID-19 was spreading all over the country.
And we'll find out more about that shortly. Thank you so much for this. I mean, we could talk for hours and go straight over our commercial break. But after the break, we'll find out more about Imran and the fantastic charity work that he's up to now. See you after the break shortly. Welcome back to NTV Unscripted. I'm Victoria Beale, your host, and we're here with the lovely councillor Imran Chowdhury, BEM. So, Imran.
Hi.
Hello, thank you for part 3. This is such an amazing story, so thank you for sharing it. So just to recap on part 2, we were talking about how you got the BEM, the British Empire Medal, but also what I'm interested in knowing about now is how you actually really flourished in COVID and how you really, really helped people in need during that time. Do you want to explain that to us?
As a matter of fact, you just mentioned of the camera about ash.
Oh yes.
Right. So the first week of lockdown, my wife started working in my study room upstairs, and my daughter was in the dining room. So I didn't have any place other than sitting in the living room and watching telly. I'm otherwise a news junkie. I like listening to news from all over the world. But then I thought, hang on, if I sit like this all day, I'm going to start putting on weight, and I need some exercise. So, and also not only for me, I immediately thought that our lifestyle, the Bangladeshi lifestyle, is very sedentary, you know, if you know what I mean. I mean, we have in UK, we have very odd hours of working, which doesn't help us to be active physically. Our food habits are very different than others. We have dependence of high quantum of carbohydrates, fats, and the cooking methodologies are also very, in a way that it's not pertaining to the normal requirement of your intakes. So it's a little bit heavier. So I had 2 dumbbells in my garage. So I took them out, put my camera, video, and I started showing people, taking pictures, videos, that guys, if you're sitting at home, do these things, what I'm doing, right?
Every day?
Yeah.
10 minutes a day?
Yeah. I was doing these videos, and I was sending. Ash was one who was telling me, why are you doing this? And I said, Ash, this is how we need to build resilience in our physique. Otherwise, we will be very susceptible to fall prey into the victim of this disease. So then I organized, as soon as first week it went, second week went, and I started going out. And I started going out and finding a group of people. Restaurants are closed. The whole town is absolutely, it's like a Western film, you know, after the cowboys have raided as a ghost town. So I went and I talked with few people. I said, listen, do you have cycle? Let's do some cycling, keep us physically fit. So we started going around from Northampton to Wellingborough by cycle and come back through the embankment. And then got a group of people to do a bit of walking, running, and all of that. And then the mask and PPE crisis engulfed the whole country. So I immediately phoned my friend's younger brother back home in Bangladesh. I said, can you get me 100% cotton, 2 layers, single jersey, 10,000 masks ASAP, and can you airship them? He said, no problem. So he just took 22 days to have them shipped. I released it from the airport, and few of us, we took boxes to go around to restaurants and give them, and to people, and to homeless people.
Completely for free?
Absolutely, 100%.
Just giving away?
Yeah, giving away. Whosoever needed it, we started giving away. And then when I saw that the findings are coming out, the number 10 Downing Street is talking about carbohydrate, the BME community is heavily suffering from it, and we thought, hang on, we have problem with diets. So then what happened is there are a lot of elderly BME community people in Northampton and Northamptonshire who live on their own. They're not in care homes, but they're living in their own home, but themselves, you know, children have grown, they've flown the nest. So we found a list of those people. From talking within the community, we found few names and addresses, and we cooked some healthy meal. I had a nutritionist, Sheena, she used to cook that, prepare that meal, less carbohydrate, less fat, you know, absolutely hardly any oil or anything, but very tasty food, really, really tasty. So used to prepare them and take it down to those houses. And I'm sorry to say, a lot of people were very negative in the Facebook and all. Oh, why you guys are going out here spreading the what do you call, the virus and all that? I said, guys, we have, someone has to do it. So then from there we got some got in cooperation with, there is a charity called Hope Center in Northampton, and we tried to then start doing some cooking lessons for youth. Healthy cooking meal. You can have a burger.
Online was this?
No, physical.
Oh, this is
when
physical.
There was the, you know, the lulls were happening in between the breaks,
oh, I see,
in between the lockdowns. So we were having, you have a burger, but you can have it cooked in a healthy way.
Okay.
Right? You can have any slap-up meals, but it can be healthy.
Correct.
So inculcating the sense of awareness of how to cook healthy food, less fat, less carbohydrate, and all of that. And from there, then what we did was we carried on, and then the vaccination came. And if you remember the vaccination, there was a lot of, within the diaspora communities, there was a lot of trepidation, misinformation, not to take, it has a lot of elements and ingredients which does not comply to our code of conduct of religion and all of that, if you remember that.
Yes.
So then I started phoning up BBC. I said, can I come on and talk about it in my language in BBC Northampton, so that I can make people aware that there is nothing wrong, you should go and take it. Then went round to the vaccine centers and helped them, take them inside. Then next was the booster jab, and then I talked with Dr. Rashid Gartard. He's a pediatrician from Birmingham. He's a deputy lieutenant of Birmingham. I said, you are a Muslim, so can you not write a letter?
And there he is there on the screen.
Yes. Can you not write a letter for me in English? And so he wrote a letter that, look, I'm 80 years old, I'm a Muslim, I have taken my booster, I've taken my vaccination, there is nothing wrong, you all should take it. So then I advertised his letter in Bengali newspapers, in Janamat and in Bangla Post, and then I added my translation with it, and that converted that advertisement into leaflets both sides. And I lifted it in Luton, I lifted it in Birmingham, I lifted it in Tower Hamlets, whichever way I could get volunteers. Sometimes I came myself.
Yes.
I mean, just to give you an example, in 2021, I have walked 1.667 million steps.
Oh, goodness me.
Which is 983 miles. I could go and come back from Edinburgh. So, and then I continued this program of going out, talking about long COVID, if you got any symptoms, have you suffered from COVID? And these are like knocking at the doors of the BME community in Northampton and talking to them, taking my volunteers with them, taking facts and figures, then sending it to tally it, how it's happening. So I continued till March 2022, and now what I've found is the life has suddenly changed. Where the world would have been in 2030, we have reached in 2021. Yes. Scientifically, modernization, automation, and everything. So biggest problem I find that the elderly, not even elderly, mid-age, from the 30 onwards,
yes,
a lot of people within our community and other communities, they are not computer literate.
No.
Now, the problem is, if you're on benefit, you have to know how to go into the universal credit. If you need to go and book an appointment with your GP, you have to go through an app. If you need to book an hospital appointment, you need to do that. You need to have emails, but if you get emails in English, how do you convert that into Bengali?
Yes.
So I'm running a training course. At the same time, also, if anybody has issues with any issues to do with benefits and all, because there are no benefit advice center anymore. Right. The citizen advice bureaus are overwhelmed. Yes, right? They can't cope with the pressure. No. So we are trying to facilitate that. As of now, anybody can walk into our office anytime and give us a call. We are our online, phone lines are 24 hours. Yes. All they need to do is if no one picks up the phone, they can leave a message, and then we can facilitate them to call them in, or we go and visit them. So that's what we are doing at the moment. Hopefully we shall continue doing it.
You're doing amazing. I mean, my producers are dying to show photographs of your family. Tell us about your family, and then we'll talk about the rest of the charity work that you're doing. So wife married over here?
My wife is...
And children?
Children my daughter is 26. She works for a recruitment company. Fabulous. She's a graduate in history. We all followed the history route right? And my son is studying in Oxford. He's doing international relations and politics.
Well, thank you, Imran. Sorry, my producer was telling me that someone's actually called in to speak to you, which is an honour. We don't get that very often, so you can put our caller through if you like, producers.
Hello.
Hello. Who's calling?
Hello there. Hello there. Hello guys, lovely people. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
can hear you.
Hi there. I'll like to keep myself. Well, I'm British, but born in the UK. I'd just like to ask you a question, if it's possible. You know, as you're born and brought up in the UK, you're familiar with the society. How, like the gentleman there explaining that the background, and he got no certain field in life. You've got to be experienced in it. Well, is there anything wrong if you have experience in as you're growing up here, health issues and drug and alcohol issues? Is it because you learn taught in life how to overcome these issues and how to be in control in these situations? And I work in the field in a company called Better Life. We interpret these skills for people who don't go into these in these situations, and if they're in this situation, how to be in control, how to be aware, and how to self-control hygienically. Is there anything wrong with that? May I ask you, interpreting these skills for people to move forward in, and maybe they can educate themselves and maybe pass it on to generations, because it's skills that you learn. For example, COVID-19, yeah, we've all learned a tough time to go through, and we've also learned a skill to how to deal with it and to stay in our communities well safe. So that's another tool to we've all around the world experienced that. So my point is that I've also experienced the health issues from this as well. And I'm not saying that we all have lapses or we all have now and then drink, or we all have now and then a smoke. But it's best to be in control and to interpret this to not get into trouble or health issues, or lose your house, or go homeless, or go into drug and alcohol. Is there anything wrong with that in the community, interpreting that back to the people for their experiences?
Imran, what's your actual question there? what are you asking, Mr. Chowdhury?
Yeah, do you think what I've just said now to you about awareness of the health and drug and alcohol, interpreting that back to the community, will help our community to be safe?
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah, yes. So thank you for your question. Actually, it is I'm not an expertise, and I have not looked into that spectrum of thing at this moment, because we were grappling with the other issues that we had in our hand. But I'm sure certainly there could be problems, there could be issues with it, and we may need to address that. And should you want to get in touch with me, please contact me. You can type in my name, and if you want to collaborate with us and do some projects together, I would be more than happy. My volunteers and our team would be absolutely accommodative to do any activities, predominantly in Northampton, because we are not a nationwide institution at this moment. Maybe tomorrow we will be, but now we would actually confine our parameters within the parameters of Northamptonshire borders, because we don't have the means. But yes, you're welcome anytime, and this would be an excellent idea. I'm not an expertise in that, but yes, I can learn from you, and we can work together to eradicate the problem from the society. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. What was your name again? Oh, he's gone. Right. Okay, my producers tell me he's gone. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the question and calling in. So we've got 1 minute left of this wonderful interview. Just tell people now how they can get in touch with you. And what
my CIC's name is Centre for Policy Promotion and Prevention.
Right.
So if you type in internet, you will find me, or if you just need to type in Imran Chowdhury BEM, you will be able to contact me anytime from anywhere, and I'm very proactive to attend any calls or any inquiries. It will be a pleasure for me to actually receive them, and everybody is welcome to do so if they want to.
Fantastic. And let's give the URL, Imran, in 20 seconds. Okay. What's the website? It's
www.cppp.org.uk. I'll say it again. It's www.cppp.org.uk. Thank you.
Listen, it's been wonderful seeing you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that's the end of our show. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon.
I'm really privileged and honored. Thank you.